Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman, and we're talking Main Street and the small business lenders help it grow. Ken Rosenthal, Hawaii. Joseph Coleman, Washington, D.C. Delaney Sexton, Mid-America. We have it all covered.
Old Coleman, Hollywood.
That's right. And that's actually San Clemente, not Hollywood. Anyway, we have a lot of stuff. Ken's one of our winners. 2022 SBA Business Development Officers of the Year. Ken came out to Phoenix. Congratulations, Ken. But first, we're going to start with Delaney, and we're going to do our international version of Fraud Friday. Delaney has two stories. Delaney, what's happening across the pond?
Yes, this is the first one out of UK. It's been a while, but we have talked about the bounce back loan scheme a little bit.
I love that. I love that terminology. Go ahead.
The name is interesting. It was a loan program to help small to medium-sized businesses. The max amount you could claim was 50,000 British pounds. And here we have a story with Lavinia. She applied for a loan for the business she was the director of. It was a construction business. When they applied for the loan, they had already ceased trading, which was a requirement of the bounce back loan scheme. And in addition, she exaggerated the company's turnover in order to get that maximum 50,000 British pound loan. Whenever that loan was deposited, the company's bank account had less than 50 pounds, and she withdrew 50,000 pounds very shortly after. You know, here we see a lot of big prison sentences, fines, etc., but in this case, no prison, but she's banned for 11 years. She can never directly or indirectly be involved in the promotion, formation, or management of a company.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. And what are our Chinese friends doing to us?
Yes, this is a very interesting story. So they took advantage of quite a few different programs, including SBA loans, many of the unemployment programs and whatnot. It is a Chinese hacking group known as APT41. Apparently, you know, I'm not up to date with my Chinese hacking groups, but they are pretty big, very consistently causing issues in the United States. A few of them were even convicted a few years ago. But they managed to get tens of millions of dollars, spanned about 2,000 different accounts, 40,000 financial transactions. The Secret Service says they were able to recover half of it, but it looks like they will have some work cut out for a little while.
Very good, Delaney. Yeah, we wanted to give you a little bit. And by the way, if you look at the British numbers, their fraud incident is way higher than what we have in the United States. So you can criticize the PPP program, but if you compare it to what happened in Britain, it's not even close in terms of the fraud that we have. And as Delaney said, we tend to be a lot more tougher putting people in cells, and as opposed to go to the beach for 11 years and don't run a company. Delaney, thank you very much. I appreciate the reporting. We'll see you next week. Good job. Joseph, you're in Washington, D.C. Let's go to Joseph first, and then Ken, you're going to back cleanup, if that's okay with you.
I'm good at that.
You're good at that. Joseph's in Washington, D.C., attended the National Rural Lenders Roundtable. Joseph, give us a quick update. By the way, you have very nice videos. We haven't yet figured out how to put those in streaming in this live show, so we will be releasing these in a podcast format on Monday. Tell us what happened.
I'd like to thank all the organizers of this event, Thomas USAF, and the sponsors. Put together about 90 lenders at the USDA Rural Lenders Roundtable. They did it this year. They were off last year, and so everybody was happy to be back. And they had a full agenda. It was packed. I mean, they had 9 hours of content in one day, so it was nonstop. They started off with the senator from Arkansas, Senator Bozeman. He gave us a quick update on the continuing resolution. They're trying to get it passed through 12/16, and then they're trying to extend that maybe through the 23rd. At all costs, they're trying to avoid a year-long CR. USDA head office said that would be catastrophic if there was a year-long CR. due to it rolling back to fiscal year 22 levels. And they had to piece together a lot of money just to get funding the obligations to the rural lenders for this year. So he gave us the timeline for the Farm Bill. They were trying to get everything by July, and hopefully they can get it signed by September. The appropriations people that were on the panels seemed optimistic with that timeline. However, we know how Washington works, and it could be a little bit later than that. But that is the agenda for the ag committees in the House and the Senate. They the second keynote was Congressman Sanford Bishop. He was the chairman for 4 years of the Ag Committee and the Appropriations. He held the purse strings, and he is a dear friend of rural lenders. He is an advocate of agriculture and rural, rural lending and Main Street. And he now is the ranking member, so he has to step aside, but he had a funny thing. He's the number 2 person, but he is their biggest advocate. He was able to raise $2 billion for fiscal year 23 for USDA. That's a 60% increase over fiscal year 22. He was adamant about saying that they need these funds to help rural hospitals, because they are losing rural hospitals frequently, and that once you lose the hospitals, that really leads to the death of these communities. So he gave us a quick update on the Farm Bill as well. He's participated in over 60 hearings, so there's a lot of input in those. And again, he's the ranking member now, but he is still championing the efforts of the ag community. So we got a nice update from Jackie Facto from AgriPulse. She's a reporter and associate editor, and she really gave us a great update on what the election did to the rural Main Street lending atmosphere. There's a new leading Republican, Glenn G.T. Thompson out of Pennsylvania. He's the leading Republican now, so he'll be the majority leader. And she was explaining that the red wave that was expected to come did not come. The margins were very close in the House and the Senate. And as a result, this will lead to bipartisan support for small business and rural communities and small business on our side as well on the SBA front. So she said because there was not a major majority, that there is going to be a need for bipartisan approach on the Hill. And we've always dealt with that. I think bipartisan and small business go hand in hand. So for the budget, she said that USDA always does get creative, and there's always a support from the leading senators and leading House members because it's supporting rural Main Street. So she gave us a great update on how the election is going to affect. There's a lot of shakeup going on. I'm about 4 blocks away from the Capitol, and there's a lot of moving and shaking going on in this next couple months. So the last update was from the head office, and they gave us their stats on it's a 70-day average to originate 1RD loans. Bruce Lammers was a champion on creating that policy for 1RD, and it's been successful. The big news out of USDA is that REAP is increasing from 50 million to 1 billion with a B. So that's a major initiative from the president's agenda. They are really trying to go after renewable energies, and that's going to turn some heads in the lending space, and a lot of people are going to try to access those funds. Rural development loans need an environmental review. That was the big issue. And so because all the loans do need that review, and it does come from USDA, they're looking into alternatives of using outside third-party reviews, just like the SBA does. So considerations will be state by state. So that's not law now. It's being talked about. And lastly, they talked about customers need a detailed checklist because SBA is a lot more formal and it's easy. It's your analogy of SBA being a Ford factory and USDA really being a one-by-one shop. So they need more standards and checklists. That's their big initiative. So, and lastly, they're releasing all this data, 10 years of data for USDA. It's going to go live next week. It's called the Rural Data Gateway. You'll be able to download Excel and access all of the rural development programs. It's going to be updated monthly. And they're not doing charge-ups yet, but they will show all the USDA rural loans. So that is what they've been working on. And again, thank you to the organizers of the event. It was an excellent show. So
Good reporting. A couple of things. Farm Bill is done every 6 years, correct, Joseph? Is that
yeah? I think it's been at least 5. So
that's why it's important.
Yeah.
And the rural hospital issue is, as Congressman Bishop said, is critical. The problem is if a rural hospital closes, that's usually the #1 employer in that rural county. So it causes a lot of problems in terms of spiraling downward economic impact to those counties. But rural hospitals are facing a lot of problems, and that's why I know there's a lot of bipartisan support to support the rural hospitals and all the ancillary businesses that go along with that. So that was very good. Well, very good, Joseph. Thank you very much.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, thanks for sending me out.
Mr. Rosenthal, good to see you.
Aloha. Good morning.
Very
Good
good.
morning for me.
There you go. Ken, I first of all, tell us what you do.
Oh, we don't have enough time.
I'll cut you
No,
off.
I've
I've been known to cut people off.
Yeah, right. I am with CDC Capital Markets, which is we do the SBA 504 wholesale first mortgage nationwide. I've been doing this for 32 years. So for the first 20 years doing the 504 second mortgage in California for our CDC, which is CDC Small Business Finance. And then for the last 12 years doing the wholesale 504 first mortgage. We started with Bank of America. Remember the FMLP days? We represented B of A, basically as a loan service provider, and then took on Morgan Stanley. I've been representing Morgan Stanley for 12 years on the 504 first mortgage nationwide.
How's the market?
The market is interesting depending on who you are as a borrower. With the rising interest rates, our typical borrower is a very high net worth individual for the Morgan program. So therefore, high net worth people don't need 90% financing. So our volume has dropped like a rocket downward because they don't need the rates at today's rate. When the rates were in the 4s, they wanted to borrow as much as possible. Now that rates are, I would say, stabilizing.
And the rates are, what are the rates?
6.
Okay.
So we use, as the SBA does, we use the 10-year Treasury and 10-year CMT as kind of an index. And that's right around 3.5. And if you look historically, that's if you throw out COVID and you throw out the 80s, that's kind of normality.
Right.
And when people start realizing that, okay, we're in what's really normal, 4% is not normal, neither is 18%, that you're in the 6s, that's normal. That's actually pretty good. Mm-hmm. So, obviously we're in December. The only deals that are happening now are the year-end close rushes. If you're doing a refi, there's no rush. So really things are going to start picking up again, I think, in January, especially when the 7A borrowers get their statements and go, wait, I'm at 10.25%? What? We're going to start seeing some 7A refis into 504.
Underwriting 504 first, any tricks, any tips that you can pass along to our lenders?
The only thing is we look globally. So we don't just underwrite the first. So it's 90% financing. So we're only lending on the first. The CDC's lending on the second. But we look at a global. And we underwrite the same way that CDC does. If anybody has seen a ventures credit memo, we use the exact same template. That's how we underwrite. Basic, normal cash flow, looking at net income, add back depreciation, interest, your normal things, deduct all your business debt, deduct your personal debt, and we're looking for a 120 debt coverage.
Turn around.
Pre-qual turnaround, 24 hours, but total time, 60, 75 days. A lot depends on environmental appraisal, usually appraisal time-wise, but we're not doing the year-end, I got to close in 20 days kind of thing, but 60
yeah,
to 75 days, the normal.
Tell us, I know it's a range, but tell us about the secondary market. What type of premiums do lenders earn on a, I hate to use the word
Normal.
typical because it's all over the board, but what type of premiums is the market looking at?
It actually is interesting. It's not all over the board. It's very rare that it is outside of the 3 range.
Okay.
Because what we're looking for typically is a high quality deal. And you can't price a high quality deal super high and make a bunch of premium unless you lock somebody in a closet in rural America, right? If they talk to anyone, they know that the rate needs to be very competitive. So the typical premium, and this is for Morgan Stanley, CIT, Zion, anybody, is 3. That's very, very typical. 3 on the first. So is it the same as 7A? No, but it's apples and oranges. You're talking about, like in our case, a 25-year fully amortized fixed rate in 6s. 7A is 10% variable. Right? It's totally different animal. But
One of the
3
things
is
that
typical.
one of the things Joseph was reporting was the SBA program and the USDA BNI lending program are very much compatible in terms of melding them together for larger deals. Do you see a lot of that in your world?
No. So the 7A and the BNI are variable rate products that are totally different than the 504. Our niche is looking at very multi-purpose type properties, high net worth individuals, doctors, dentists, manufacturing firms, deal size probably 10 million and under, which is similar to 7A, but the rural program can go
A lot of,
anything.
I know you do a lot of assisted livings.
Under the 504, yes. Yeah. 504 in general, yeah, I'd say mostly what we do is multi-purpose, but there's a lot of ALF stuff, storage, hospitality, which leads into, I have not been touching that stuff for the last dozen years under our Morgan Stanley product because we only want multi-purpose. Our exciting news is we're expanding our product mix and we're taking on 2 new lenders to be able to expand that product mix. And so we're not just going to lend on the very, very best, which is what Morgan does. We're still going to do that. A+ credit, you're still going to get A+ pricing. But we're expanding and taking on another Fortune 100 company that's going to do a near miss. It won't fit Morgan. Maybe it's a 1.1 coverage or a 1.0, but still a good deal. We're going to be able to do those. A little bit higher pricing, another 25 bits or so. And we're taking on a tier 3 lender, which is a mission-based lender that's going to do all asset types. We're going to be able to do the ALS and the storage facilities and hospitality for those that qualify in mission-based areas.
Real
That's
quick,
really exciting.
I appreciate that, and that's a great overview of the market. You were one of the first adapters of remote work. You work in Hawaii.
Yes.
How much were you on a plane last year?
Oh, I did 17 trips to the mainland, over 100 legs, over 150,000 miles.
Give us
a
your
lot.
in Hawaii. Give us your typical day. How's that work on a remote basis, being in the island?
First of all, I think I was the first because I didn't even tell anybody I was going when I did in 2010. Because our office is based in San Diego. So I work San Diego hours. So my alarm goes off at 6. I'm at my computer at 6:05, which is 8:05 San Diego time. So I work till 3, 4 o'clock my time here, which where Joseph is, he's in bed. So, right, at 10 o'clock at night. I go surfing at 3 or 4 o'clock when the rest of the mainland is asleep. So instead of where you are, everybody surfs in the morning, I just flip-flop it, and I do my play in the afternoon afterward. But pretty solid from 6 a.m. to 3 or 4 my time.
More productive in Hawaii or San Diego?
Way more productive here. I mean, first of all, I have, like anybody who works from home, if they have a home office, I have 3 screens. and I'm not working just off a laptop. I've got a 30-inch monitor, all this, and I get no interruptions. I don't take a lunch. There is no water cooler. I am pretty much, unless I'm using the restroom, I am at my desk on the phone, texting, emailing, Zooming, whatever, from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m.
You've been the employee of the month in the Hawaii office for 12 straight years.
Yes. People find that when I'm in my home office, I provide near immediate response.
Yeah.
Because I'm here.
Here.
I'm not out at lunch or out at a meeting. This is my meeting.
Yeah. Very good.
And I'm a master at Zoom and all the other related technology.
I had a meeting, and we are going to do. We're going to invite all the winners, and for the last 5 years, we're going to be doing something in Vegas in October. We're going to move it to the fall. We're going to be announcing that. We're going to open it up. We're still in the planning stages, but we will have that done, announced by the end of the year. Ken, thank you very much for joining us. Congratulations on winning.
Thank you. Vegas is the ninth island. Vegas is known as the ninth island. Yes.
I did not know that. No,
yes, because all Hawaiians love Vegas.
All right. Well, and with that, thank you for joining us today for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today for today's episode. If you like today's content, hit that subscribe button to subscribe to our channel and click that bell icon to get notified about our latest videos. Thank you again for joining us today and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time. Catch you next time.